Well, well. Oh, you thought this was your game? You really believe the board was built for you? Wow, that's adorable. Tragic, but adorable. Every move you made, every step you bragged about. I was there, placing the traps, shaping the path, watching you dance in my web. You called it victory, I called it rehearsal. You called it luck, I called it strategy. And now you're here, wondering when the floor gave way. Newsflash. It was never solid to begin with. Fool. Didn't know they were playing the game with a game master. And that's the beauty of it. The silent precision of a mind that doesn't rush. Because while they stumbled, while they boasted, while they thought the board belonged to them, I was already rewriting the rules beneath their feet. Every glance they missed was a message. Every pause I made was a trap. Every move they thought was theirs was a piece I placed there long before the game began. And you see, that's the thing, the Game Master never brags. The Game Master watches, listens, calculates. They think you're quiet because you're weak. They think you're still because you're scared. They think you're losing because you let them lead. But oh, the silence is a blade, the patience is a weapon, and the discipline is the chain that holds back the storm until the exact second it's unleashed. I have been underestimated more times than I can count, betrayed more times than I can name, tested more times than I can even recall, and still I stand, still I wait. I play the long game because power isn't in striking first, it's in striking last. They danced for the crowd. I studied the floorboards, they laughed at the mask. I learned the weight of the crown. They pointed at the scoreboard. I erased the numbers and drew new ones while they slept. The fool doesn't understand that the game is not speed. The game is not noise. The game is not the shine of a move made in haste. The game is in the shadows, in the spaces between breaths, in the moments where you pretend you've fallen behind, only to rise with a hand they never saw coming. I've learned to lose without breaking, to bend without snapping, to bleed without showing a wound. Because you can't take the Game Master apart when the Game Master is the board itself. So I sharpened myself on the edge of failure, polished myself with the grit of long nights, armored myself with the lessons of humiliation, until nothing and no one could control the game without me letting them. And when they laugh, I listen. When they doubt, I watch. When they attack, I yield just enough for them to believe they've won. And then I take it all back in one quiet, perfect move. That's the difference between the fool and the Game Master. The fool needs to be seen winning. The Game Master only needs to know the win is already there. Fool didn't know they were playing the game with a Game Master. And the thing about a Game Master is that they never need to rush, never need to shout, never need to wave their victories in the air. Because real control is silent. Real strength hides in plain sight. Real dominance is invisible until it's too late. They thought they were chasing me, but I was leading them in circles. They thought they were closing in, but every step was on the path I designed. They thought the finish line was theirs, but I moved it further every time they reached out, and the beauty of it is they never saw my hands move. Patience is not weakness. It is the deep breath before the strike. Humility is not surrender. It is the lowering of the head to avoid the blade. Stillness is not fear. It is the quiet sharpening of the knife in the dark. I have walked through storms with my mouth shut. Because words are cheap when the board is still in motion. I have watched people celebrate victories that were nothing but crumbs. I left to keep them busy. I have carried the weight of plans that span years, not days, because the Game Master doesn't chase moments. The Game Master shapes them. And they will call you slow, they will call you passive, they will call you unsure until they see the walls close in, until they see the door lock from the outside, until they realize the floor they stand on is a trap door you built with your own scars. They will remember the times they mocked you, but they will not laugh when their laughter turns into silence. They will remember the games they thought they won, but they will not smile when they realize the prize was poison. They will remember your stillness, but they will not call it weakness again when that stillness becomes the ground swallowing their feet. I have been ignored. I have been dismissed. I have been cast aside, and each time I picked up the pieces they left behind and turned them into weapons they could never recognize until they cut too deep. They don't teach you that discipline is sharper than rage, that self-control is heavier than force, that vision is longer lasting than noise, but I learned it in the quiet, in the corners, in the hours when the world was asleep and I was building a kingdom from broken bricks. You don't have to tell them you're the Game Master, you just have to let them think they're winning until the last move is made and the only voice left in the room is yours. Fool didn't know they were playing the game with a Game Master. And that is why every step they took felt easy. Every turn felt safe. Every piece they moved seemed to open a path. Because I made it that way. I let the comfort grow. I let the illusion breathe. I let them believe they were clever while every inch was a design drawn in shadows. They thought they had escape traps, but the traps were simply doors to bigger cages. They thought they'd turned the tables, but the table itself belonged to me. They thought they had the upper hand, but the hand they were holding was mine, leading them exactly where I wanted them to go. See, the Game Master doesn't just play the game. The Game Master becomes the air the game breathes, the blood in its veins, the clock that ticks above it all, and fools never notice because they mistake noise for power, speed for progress, and chaos for victory. I have let people walk away thinking they'd beaten me because the cost of proving them wrong was less valuable than the lessons they'd learn when their fake win turned to dust. I have faced betrayal with eyes that did not blink, endured mockery with lips that did not speak, swallowed insults like bitter medicine, and let them work in silence until the day I rose stronger than they could ever imagine. Because patience is not a delay, patience is an investment. Discipline is not about denying yourself joy, it's about denying yourself weakness. It's about choosing the move that looks small today, but breaks the board tomorrow. Fools don't get that. They want the roar. They want the spotlight. They want to be crowned while the game is still in motion. But I've learned that the crown means nothing if you haven't built the throne. And the throne means nothing if you haven't built the walls to protect it. They laughed when I moved slow. They sighed when I paused. They rolled their eyes when I chose silence. And yet all the while was stacking the very bricks they'd one day be trapped behind. I have made peace with being misunderstood. I have embraced the darkness of being underestimated. I have mastered the art of letting the world think I'm losing until the last second, when the real game is revealed. And when that second comes, there's no noise, no drama. Just the final move and the quiet realization on their faces that the board was never theirs to begin with. Fool didn't know they were playing the game with a Game Master. And in the end, that is why they lost before the end even came. Why every confident grin was just a mask about to crack. Why every move they called genius was already accounted for in my quiet ledger. Because while they played to impress, I played to win. While they moved to be seen, I moved to be certain. While they chased the applause, I chased the outcome. They thought the game was about quick strikes and loud victories, but the game is about endurance. It's about who can bleed without showing it, who can fall without staying down, who can be forgotten yet remain in control of the board. I have spent years in that place, the place where you lose in public, but build in private, the place where the world counts you out, but you keep counting your own move, the place where they call you finished while you are quietly becoming unstoppable. And that's the thing the fool never understood. The game isn't played on the surface, it's played in the roots, in the depth. In the places where no eyes can see and no hands can reach except the one who planted it. I have worn the weight of patience like armor. I have walked through the fire of discipline until my very skin became flame-proof. I have let humility guide my steps so no pride could blind me when the real opportunity came. Fools think the game ends when the crowd declares a winner, but the game master knows the crowd is just another piece on the board. Useful, easily swayed, but never in charge. I have studied the silence between moves, the hesitation in their breath before they speak, the way their eyes shift when they realize the board isn't what they thought it was, and that is when the trap closes, not with force but with inevitability. You see, the game master doesn't destroy the fool. The fool destroys themselves by stepping exactly where they were led, by believing in victories that never existed, by running a race whose finish line I moved 100 times, and when the final move comes, it is not chaos, it is clarity. The kind that burns in the chest, the kind that leaves them unable to speak, the kind that makes them finally see that they were never in control. And that is when I step back. Not for applause, not for recognition, but because the game was won long ago, and all that's left is the echo of a lesson they will never forget. And now, the game is over. Dear player, the board is empty. The pieces are gone. The rules you clung to have dissolved into nothing. You thought you were chasing victory, but tell me, what do you hold now, except the echo of my design? I do not need your applause. I do not need your recognition. I do not need your approval. The game master wins by walking away before the celebration begins, leaving the crowd wondering, leaving the fool frozen, leaving the silence louder than any cheer. And maybe one day you'll realize you never lost to me. You lost to the truth that the game was mine all along.